Okay, we are reconvening at 7:56. 15.1, potential board action to approve the direct hire agreement from Edu Healthcare in the amount of $11,549.25. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Mrs. Schroeder. Mrs. Grove.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle.
Aye.
Mrs. Birkin.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lebudzick.
Aye. 15.2, potential action on personnel consent agenda. We have Michael as a social worker at Finley. We have Mary Claire, music teacher at Ridge Central, Mary Kate, preschool for all teacher at Ridge Lawn, Patricia, day custodian at Ridge Central, and Brian, seasonal custodian. Welcome to the team. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Mrs. Birkin.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. And Mrs. Lebudzick.
Aye. 15.3, potential board action to approve a leave of absence for Ileana Alayan, third grade teacher at Ridge Lawn. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mrs. Birkin.
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lebudzick.
Aye. 15.5, potential board action to approve the termination of employee.
You skipped 15.4.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
15.4, potential board action to approve a memorandum of an understanding with the Chicago Ridge Education Association regarding the use of cameras for evaluation purposes. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Lammle.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Birkin.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. And Mrs. Lebudzick.
Aye. 15.5, potential board action to approve the termination of employee.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Mrs. Lammle.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. Mrs. Birkin.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lebudzick.
Aye. 15.6, we have 3 resignations. Moving on, 15.7, potential action on resolution releasing closed session minutes and destruction of verbatim recordings in 18 months and older. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Birkin.
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. Mrs. Grove.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lebudzick.
Aye. 16.0, adjournment. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion-
7:59.